Section 7 of the History of Esculent Fish. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Margaret Lang. The History of Esculent Fish by Roger North. Section 7. The Mackerel. A very common sea fish of the scomber kind. Its nose is sharp-pointed and tapered, its eyes large, and both its jaws of the same length. The teeth are small, but very numerous, the body compressed on the sides. Towards the tail it is rather slender and somewhat angular. The first dorsal fin is placed a little behind the pectoral fin. It is triangular and has 9 or 10 stiff rays. The second has 12 soft rays, and lies at a distance from the other. The pectoral has 20, and the ventral 6 rays. At the base of the anal fin is a long spine. Betwixt the last dorsal and the tail are 5 small fins, the same number likewise betwixt the anal and the tail. The tail is broad and semilunar. The color of the back and sides above the lateral line is beautiful green, variegated with black lines pointing downwards. Beneath the line, the belly is of a beautiful silvery color. The eyes of the mackerel are almost covered with a white film, which grows in winter, during which time they are nearly blind. They cast it in the beginning of summer. It is in high estimation amongst the Romans, because it furnished the precious garum. End of section 7.
Section 8 of The History of Esculent Fish. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Vincent Wayne. The History of Esculent Fish by Roger North. The Mullet. The mullet is a name given indeterminately to fish of several kinds, but the true meaning of the word is the same with that of mugel or cephalus. The characters of the mugel are these. The branchiostage membrane on each side contains 6 crooked bones, the upper one being the broadest and hid under the gills. Only 5 are discernible. The scales are large and cover the head and the opercula of the gills, as well as the body of the fish. The head is depressed in the anterior part, the body oblong and compressed. According to these distinctions, there is only one species of mugel, namely, the mugel of Ovid and the ancients. It resembles the thymalus in its external figure. Its jaws are tender and thin and have no teeth in them. The tail is forked. The Linnean system reckons 2 species, viz. the cephalus and the albula. 3 or 4 different species of mugel have been described by Rondeletius and others, but their difference seems to arise merely from age, place, and the like accidents. The nose is sharp, the belly bowed, the head plain and flatted. The scales are very large and cover the body entirely. The back is of a dusky blue or greenish-brown color, the belly white, and the sides variegated from the head to the tail with green and black lines. Its tongue is rather rough. It has no teeth. It preys upon no fish and is therefore supposed to feed on weeds. At certain times it comes up the river, but is generally caught at sea. The mullet is a very good tasted fish. We make tobacco of its spawn. Mullets are to be found chiefly on sandy coasts, particularly where there are influxes of fresh water. They come in great shoals, and they keep rooting the mud like hogs, and leave their trace in the form of large round holes. They are very cunning, and when surrounded with a net, the whole shoal frequently escapes by leaping over it. For if one takes the lead, the others are sure to follow. End of Section 8. Section 9 of The History of Esculent Fish. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Vincent Wayne. The History of Esculent Fish by Roger North. The Perch. The perch, or perch, is a genus of fish of the order of Theraceae. The characters of these are that the membrane of gills has 7 bones, and the back has 1 or 2 fins, the first spiny and the second soft. The body is covered with rough scales. The edges of the gill covers are scaly and serrated. Linnaeus enumerates 36 species. This fish is variegated with black spots. There is a strange variety of perch, some of which are quite hunched, and the backbone, near to the tail, very much distorted. In color and other respects, it is similar to the common kind. The best time for their biting is betwixt spring and summer, as at that time they are very greedy, and the angler, with good management, may take all that are in the hole at one standing, if there were ever so many. The perch will bite all day long if it be cloudy, but the best time is from 8 till 10 in the morning, and from 3 till 6 in the afternoon. It is very abstemious in the winter, and will seldom bite. If it does at all, it is in the middle of the day. All fish bite best at this time of the day in that season. End of section 9.
Section 1 of the History of Esculent Fish. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Larry Wilson. The History of Esculent Fish by Roger North. The Barbel. Called in ichthyology Barbus, but by some writers in natural history, Mustus duviatitis, and is a species of the Cyprinus. The barbel is a fish commonly known, and so called from the barb or beard under its chaps or nose, and is of the leather-mouthed kind. It is but a moderate-tasted fish, and the female is less esteemed for the table than the male, but neither of them is much valued. The worst season for them is in April. They love to be among the weirs, where there is a hard gravelly bottom, and generally swim together in large shoals. In summer they frequent the strongest and swiftest currents of water, as under deep bridges, weirs, and the like places, and are apt to get in among the piles, weeds, and other shelter. But in winter they retire into the deepest and stillest waters. The best season for angling for this fish is from May to August, and the time for taking them is very early in the morning or late in the evening. The place should be baited with chopped worms some time before, and no bait is so good for the hook as the spawn of fish, particularly the salmon. In defect of these, lobworms will do, but they must be very clean and nice, and the hook carefully covered, otherwise he will not touch them. Old cheese steeped in honey also is a fine bait. End of section 1.
Section 10 of the History of Esculent Fish. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Margaret Lang. The History of Esculent Fish by Roger North. Section 10. The pike is the Lucius Essex of Linnaeus. It has a very flat head. The upper jaw is broad and shorter than the lower, which turns up a little at the end. The body is long, slender, and compressed sideways. The teeth are very sharp, disposed only in the front of the upper jaw, but in both sides of the lower, sometimes in the roof of the mouth, and frequently in the tongue. The eyes are small, and the slit of the mouth very wide. The dorsal fin is placed very low on the back, and consists of 21 rays, the pectoral of 15, the ventral of 11, and the anal of 18. The tail is bifurcated. They are to be found in most of the lakes in Europe. Lapland produces very large ones, some 8 feet long. They are dried there and exported for sale. The pike was introduced into England in the reign of Henry VIII in 1537, when a pike was sold for double the price of a house lamb in February. Besides its usual food, fish and frogs, it devours water rats and young ducks. It is remarkable for its longevity. We read of one that lived till 90 years old, and of another that was no less than 270 years old.